If you live in the west or south of France, you are accustomed to sowing fava beans in the fall for an early spring harvest. Elsewhere, in the coldest regions, in principle, one waits until spring to sow them. However, you can also sow them in the fall, provided you place them under a tunnel. Belonging to the Fabaceae family, fava beans are very interesting as a crop grown under a tunnel. Can you imagine that they fix nitrogen from the air? There is no need to feed them, and they will nourish the soil throughout the entire winter period. And following the cultivation of fava beans under a tunnel, you will be able to grow nutrient-hungry plants. The advantage of growing under cover, particularly in a tunnel, is the nature of the soil. A dry soil will help avoid excess moisture because fava beans do not like water during the winter, and this is often the reason why they are not cultivated in the north of France. So here we are dealing with a mulch. It's wood chips mulch. We will grow these fava beans behind a crop of tomatoes. There is a technique to accelerate the germination of fava beans, whether under cover or in open ground, which involves soaking them for a few hours or even a few days in advance. Here are some fava beans that have been soaked for 3 to 4 days already, and we can already see the first sprouts coming out of the bean. Since we have a good thickness of wood chips mulch, and moreover, it is wood chips mulch made from thick shavings, we will clear it. So I will clear it with a fork. To try to recover the soil from underneath, we clear by making small mounds. There, we are going to make 2. So once we've made our little mounds, I use a fork to gently lift the soil without turning it over. And a fork is very handy. It has tines, and we have enough strength to work the soil and cultivate it to a depth of a few centimeters. Next, with a spade, I slightly move the soil to create small clumps, which will be spaced 25 to 30 centimeters apart. I am now watering my clumps generously, counting about 10 liters of water per row, which means 10 clumps. There are 2 techniques for sowing fava beans, either in rows with each seed spaced about 10 centimeters apart, or in clusters, as shown here, where you will place between 3 and 5 seeds. Here we will also observe 2 other sowing methods. The method with seeds soaked for nearly 72 hours, where we can see the sprout, and then seeds that have not been soaked, which will allow us to determine which method leads to better development of the fava beans, soaked or not soaked. The seeds are covered with fine soil about 1 centimeter thick, and then we mulch our sowing with wood chips mulch. I would simply like to warn you about the condition of the seeds when you obtain them. If there is a small hole in a seed inside the package, and this happens from time to time as it did here, well, it is actually the weevil. The weevil is a beetle, and the larva inside devours the seed. When the temperature reaches 21 degrees, which happens quite quickly in the tunnel, the beetle flies away to lay its eggs elsewhere. In principle, there is enough moisture for the fava bean seeds to germinate and sprout, and by the time they start to emerge from the wood chips mulch, it would be important to water them well. These same fava beans will spend the winter under the tunnel, and normally, in principle, you should harvest the first fava beans in April.